after Binance? Where is support? Where is the buy at the end of June? And remember, hopefully you sold in May on Memorial Day and went away. This is the last push by regulators. So even though it looks horrible on the screen, it's actually the best thing that could happen to crypto because this is their last punch. And I don't even think it's a particularly big one. So if you need a roadmap in crypto, subscribe to this channel. Turn on alerts so you know when we're going live and hit the like button. Okay. I am going to welcome who's here on the stream. Megan is here. Welcome. Okay. Mindrest says time to buy. Kennedy is like, give me the lowdown. Okay. Boris Leak thinks Bitcoin's going to turn around quick. Okay. This is the dip you've all been waiting for. Richard Barry, loyal listener from Augusta, Georgia, right? Bull Runner in the house. Kenneth, JP Stanley. Gensler is causing Armageddon out there. You know, it's like a horror movie. It's Gensler's last gasp. Okay. Mr. O'Sullivan is here. Coffee Farts, welcome. John from Southern Texas. Mindrest, what's going on? Okay, so people are talking about DCA. Let's talk about that, right? Psychedelic Catfish, welcome. Okay, Avid. Okay, let me get the news up here, and then we'll get busy. Okay, first, a brief reminder about legacy. I know you don't want to hear it, but this is important. Okay, headline is not coming up. Okay, there it is. $1 trillion Treasury vacuum coming for Wall Street rally. So for crypto, this is double jeopardy. The Treasury is going to drain a huge amount of money out of the system, and you have panic selling from Binance. Okay, people got to get their money off the exchange. Everyone just sells. You know, algos are going to look at this and pile on trend following systems, whatever. Tight liquidity conditions, Binance FUD, sell in May, and come back and eye in July and let it fly. Now, in terms of what kind of damage they're going to do, I'm going to go into that, but don't forget the legacy complications. Okay, crypto crumbles in a not so surprising headline. So I think that's really key, right? You know, basically they're alleging that Binance was running an illegal overseas company, right, in the United States. From dealing with this or from you know, seeing these things with investment banks, Binance pays a huge fine, closes Binance US, admits no wrongdoing, and that's that. You know, the SEC can go to court with Binance, but if Binance has all of its funds in order, you know, the SEC is doing to Binance what they should have done to FTX, which is exactly what happened in 2008, right? In 2008, certain banks took huge risk, right? Those banks went out of business or had to get bought by somebody else. And then the SEC and the Fed came down on everybody who was left who didn't behave badly. So really what's happening is CZ is taking the punch for FTX, right? Like the SEC has to go punch somebody. They're punching CZ, right? So they've been trying to get this guy. Crypto people were cheering for him to get this guy. I certainly think this morning that that's going to be a different story in the cryptoverse, right? Everybody wanted CZ's head in December. And now, frankly, I think the SEC is going to turn him into a hero. This is their last push. Okay. So let's try and get into some, there's no details on this one. Okay. So here's Binance's blog. Okay. First of all, Binance was talking to the SEC to begin with, right? The SEC had a shot at a negotiated settlement, and I'm sure Binance would have settled, but they just opted to get heavy-handed. Why? Because they've absolutely, positively got to stop crypto. They have to stop crypto, right? Okay. Sorry, a little bit of complication with the news there. Okay. A misguided and conscious refusal to provide clarity to the industry. So if they got to take Binance into court and they accuse Binance of being an unregistered securities exchange, I don't think that's going to work. Okay. All user assets on Binance and Binance affiliate platform are safe and secure and will be vigorously defend against any allegations to the contrary. I mean, does anyone think that CZ is dumb enough to have done something with commingled funds in the wake of FTX, right? In other words, whatever they were doing in the past, we don't know. But you certainly have to think that really as soon as Celsius started, that they would have cleaned up their act if they had to at all. They didn't sponsor Formula One racing teams. They didn't hire celebrity endorsers. They didn't name basketball stadium, Binance Stadium. They didn't do any of that. Okay. The SEC's goal here was never protect investors. Okay. The real intent here, and this is key, is to make headlines. The SEC needs to scare you off crypto. They need to scare you off crypto. Why? Well, we know why. Because commercial real estate is going to get nuked, right? The government, the Treasury is going to have a lot of trouble financing 1/3 of the debt over the next 6 months. The U.S. government wants you buying Treasury bonds, not crypto. So, it's like the SEC's real intent here instead appears to be to make headlines. Okay. Okay. Because Binance is not a U.S. exchange, the SEC's action are limited in reach. In other words, Binance is actually not headquartered here. Just as a reminder, just as a reminder. Okay. Now, also a reminder about Asia, right? It was pretty tough to sell in May and go away because it didn't move. And it rallied over Memorial Day and gave you a shot to get out, right? For an ABCDE formation that we will get to. But there was all this talk about Chinese retail coming in. Oh, here comes Chinese retail. That may have been the reason why the SEC acted. No, so here we have Hong Kong's, Hong Kong is trying to make itself a crypto center after the Chinese made the mistaken retreat. But they don't want the Americans in. They don't want the Chinese creating FOMO. They don't want a FOMO loop in big cap cryptos because it's an embarrassment to the administration. I have absolutely no idea how the current U.S. administration is going to defend, campaign, and win an election in 2024 if they experience any more embarrassment. Honestly, they had a tough time with inflation. Maybe they get lucky with low gas prices, but make no mistake about it. When the SEC acts like this, it's coming straight from the top. That's either, central banks, treasuries, executive branch. They have to stop crypto. And guess what? It's not going to work. It's not. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean they can't absolutely hammer crypto in the meantime. They can't absolutely hammer it. Okay. Bitcoin retail demand to remain strong ahead of halving event. JPMorgan. So always be careful of investment banking research getting bullish at the top of a move. They got bored. Okay. It's okay to talk about long-term targets. I was doing it last week. Okay. But this should not be mistaken, right, for navigating the tactical nature of the sell in May and go away and the government's last push to get CZ. Because it's not just going to be an announcement, right? There'll probably be an announcement, and then there will probably be some sort of follow-on panic liquidation, I would guess, right? Some sort of like flash crash. This really today is just kind of an adjustment. I don't know. It's everything is still in the range, and we're going to go through that. We're going to go through all of the charts. Okay. Now, there's also been some crypto hacks. The Emerging Asset Group CTO discussed on our Twitter space, which is on my Twitter, crypto_noble. He discussed safe.io. It's not an endorsement, but if you've been, if you've got some of these wallets that have been like Atomic Wallet, got hacked for $30 million worth of crypto. So as we always say, our heart goes out to you. Okay. Two-factor authentication. And I just ordered 2 hardware wallets. I had a ledger I was going to open, and thank God I didn't. Now, before we get to some charts, I know it's all about Binance. I get it, but we got to at least maintain economics. Okay. Because everyone is going to forget that the economy and inflation are falling out of bed. In other words, I promise you that when they're selling Bitcoin at, I don't know, 24K, or they're panic selling ETH at 1,600 or 1,500, everybody's going to forget about economics. So I'm going to tell you about it quickly. This is a guy named Raoul Pal, and let's just say he's really smart. Okay. This is a manufacturing index from the private sector, not like the manipulated payroll number from the government. As you can see, the manufacturing index called ISM and a subcomponent called ISM new orders for industrial things is falling out of bed vertical. Okay. The Philadelphia Fed Index, which is a manufacturing index in Philadelphia. They have one for Chicago, Dallas, etc., New York. Philly Fed in blue is falling out of bed, meaning ISM, another manufacturing index, probably will follow. Okay. Financial conditions is blue. That means kind of how hard it is to get money or how easy it is for risk assets to go up. So things got tighter in blue, right? Which is hurting manufacturing and probably will hurt crypto. Again, U.S. economy kind of falling out of bed. The manufacturing survey is down. S&P, like industrial stocks that are sensitive to the economy, are going up because AI is going to change the world. Now, it probably is, and they'll enjoy their bubble over there. But just remember this. Reality is coming home to roost in the economy, and the Fed is not going to be able to tighten past whatever next move they do. This little white line over here, sadly, this is continuing claims for unemployment. Okay. So the blue line is the unemployment rate, but this white line is a number of people who have been laid off and have to continuously receive unemployment. Okay. Now, let's get to the charts. Let's greet whoever else is here. Okay. So let's summarize what I just told you. They're after CZ. They were going after somebody. He's the easy target. This is the government's last attempt because the economy is falling out of bed. Banks and commercial real estate are going to be a nuclear disaster. Meanwhile, the U.S. government has to suck all the money out of the system. So the Fed is left with a really hard choice. And eventually they're going to have to print, but that's not now. So you got them coming after CZ. You have tight financial conditions. Don't underestimate what can happen on the downside, and don't estimate what happens when this all turns around, which is what I want to start getting everybody ready for today, right? So we did sell in May for a month, and now we're going to start the eye in July, right? We're going to let them kill this thing, and we're going to see what we're going to do in terms of support. Okay, so this is Binance Coin Weekly. So let's, for a brief moment, pretend Binance is not going out of business. Interestingly, you have a 13 bottom on the weekly chart. So obviously this has all week to develop. So who knows where the bottom is, right? You may have 4 more down weeks because, you you have a green 5 here. So I can see 4 more down weeks for Binance Coin. And this could make a new low. But whatever it is they do this week, maybe they're just going to get it all over with all at once. I would think if this was as bad as it looked, Binance Coin would be a lot lower. Okay, so this feels a little bit emotional. There's probably going to be a second shoe to drop because I don't think these things last just one day. Maybe it lasts 3 weeks, right? Because, if crypto drops enough, somebody's going to go, oh my God, I can't get my funds off Binance kind of a thing. And then there'll be a rumor that Binance doesn't have enough Bitcoin to fulfill all the withdrawals. This is just a guess, right? In other words, if you assume 3 weeks of kind of crypto, oh my God, that's probably what it all looks like. Because again, there was no limit to the Binance FUD in December, and now they've got an SEC complaint behind it, right? Okay, let's just take a look at Bitcoin. So if you look at chart book, if you get a chart book, it'll talk about a trend and corrections. Corrections are normally called zigzags in old school books, right? A, B, C. Okay, a zigzag, a triangle, a box, a range. Elliott guys break it down into 2 things. They have A, B, C, and then they have A, B, C, D, E, right? For, when the market kind of ping pongs around like Bitcoin has been lately. So if you just draw this little channel, you get support at 25K. That was also a prior high from back here. So there's support at 25K. And if they really want to blow this out and scare everybody, they'll take it below 25K. They'll break the little Elliott wave formation that's here. But I got to think you're going to see 25K. Matter of fact, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm like, hey, don't pay up in altcoins. Don't buy green, buy red. I would think if you're going to dollar cost average, you would start at 25K just in case this gets out of hand again in late June. Again, don't think this is a one-day thing because it's not. Don't think it's a long-term thing because if it's a 3-week thing, people will say, oh my God, it's the end of crypto. It's the end of the world. No one's ever going to touch it. That's ridiculous, right? As soon as the macro legacy thing comes home to roost, remember, stock investors love a good value. They love the BTFD. So anybody who was thinking about getting into Bitcoin, they're going to see this thing marked down and they're going to jump in. Just don't necessarily want to buy the first dip. And really, here's why. Okay. So this is a classic example of, the fact that you can get bored out of a trade, right? The market can frustrate you instead of stopping you out. So this is a head and shoulders top in Ethereum. I don't really see a big reason for Ethereum to go down, right? I mean, again, NVIDIA's market cap in 1 week rose in 1 week. The change in NVIDIA's market cap was larger than the market cap of Ethereum itself, $250 billion. Now, Ethereum has a head and shoulders top. It pressed the neckline and pressed the neckline, and they rallied it on Memorial Day weekend, which was your sell in May and go away. It couldn't get back above the neckline. It bored you to tears, and then they dropped it. Okay, now, if this formation comes to pass, ETH is at 1,500. No matter what is happening, if you can get ETH at 1,500, not investment advice, but you can read my mind. Most importantly, right? Now, first I said, don't mess around with meme coins and get your head messed up. Now it's going to be, I don't know if you have to buy the first dip. Maybe you can buy the second dip or the third dip. Don't get impatient just because they marked it down, because it could be 1,600. It could be 1,500. I do not want my people stopping out where they should be buying it. I do not. Okay. So just to check a couple comments here, S says the Fed is already printing a lot of money, so we're good. Okay. Well, I don't doubt it, right? When the Treasury has to come in, the way the Treasury does it is the Treasury overborrows. So if they need 50 billion, they borrow 70 billion, And then they take that 20 billion extra and they basically put it right back into the system to effectively use it to support the Treasury market in case people have to sell because there's no liquidity. Okay. Quarter Crawler says, don't let the dry powder get wet. Okay. Carlos catches the show live. We appreciate you. Language Trainer says the government equals the Fed. Okay. Reverend Flashback. This lawsuit is a joke or even a bluff. The SEC is not ruling the world. They won't stop crypto. They can harass their own citizens. That's all. The current U.S. leadership is not a bunch of nice people. Okay. This is their final attempt to stop crypto. Right. And I had kind of been saying this, it was way back, but I knew there was going to be one final push. In other words, Gensler fudded the whole market, then banks failed, and he had to completely shut up. And this is their last chance to FUD the whole thing. And they're doing all kinds of other stuff, you know, like banks are freezing people's accounts, alleging money laundering. I mean, seriously, like people's accounts are getting frozen. It's happening at crypto institutions where if they see a group of transactions, the compliance departments are freezing accounts because they're afraid of what the government's going to do. I mean, they are trying to spread fear everywhere. It'll work in June. It's not going to work past that. It's not. It's not. Okay. It absolutely is not. Iron Alien is here, right? And seeing some new names, right? Chihan D, Crypto, welcome. Joseph from Brazil. Mindrest thinks a Binance Coin pump is coming. Okay, let's talk more about charts. Okay, Bitcoin. I have DeMark support at 25,300. Okay, on the 4-hour chart, the DeMark work is on a 6, maybe hard to see. We can zoom in when I go to live TA because pretty much I may have to do the entire stream live TA because this went down, you know, right as it happened. Okay. Now, Megan makes a good point. She thinks the market's going to truly run once XRP beats the SEC. And I do think this is BTFD in XRP this month. Crypto Future from Bangalore, welcome. Now, you have a 6 and it could go to a 9. So that's 3 more, at least 12 more hours of Bitcoin going down before we see what any kind of bounce looks like. Okay, ETH has a 13 top over here on Memorial Day, and it's got support at 1649. So this line was kind of, you know, something, you know, ETH was just sort of hugging. It was like a P&L destruction line. In other words, we go above it, everyone gets long, goes down, everyone gets short, goes up, everyone gets stopped out. Now everyone is probably going to get short, or longs are going to have to liquidate, and you may see 1649. Okay. Now, hidden pivot analysis, you have 1494. That's the head and shoulders target. But the hidden pivot analysis from that angle shows a very similar read as 1650. So I'm just kind of guessing that if ETH takes out, I don't know, you know, let's say 1700, that you're going to see 1650 or 1500. Okay. Again, the case to sell ETH, I don't know. They may have to do some regulatory thing where they come after ETH because who knows if they've got another punch up their sleeve. Now, there's a couple of ways to look at the big altcoins like Solana. All right. I have to think going into next year that there are going to be crypto hardware wallets on phones, multi-sig. You know, they're going to have to do something about all these hacks. And I'm guessing the hardware solutions like Solana, not to mention the fact that there could be a reward for sharing computing power. I don't know, but I've been a fan of the Solana phone, or at least the concept, since the end of last year. The chart has support in Solana at 1960. If Solana doesn't go below 1960, then I don't think there's a problem. If it does, you might be looking at 17 if this gets totally ugly later in the month, right? Again, this will go down for like anywhere from 12 to 36 hours. It'll stop. They'll look at the market. And then if it's not a disaster, fine. If it is a disaster, okay, it'll go to 17. Okay, Polkadot, 508 is resistance. 459 is support. Again, the game is like, where can I imagine myself being in 3 weeks, right? The government did us all a favor. They got us out of the range. They got, FUD everywhere. And it sets up a situation where if everyone sells off the FUD or there's some kind of liquidation, right? I mean, you can't discount that a 10% move in crypto, even though that's not huge by crypto historical standards, doesn't get someone liquidated or doesn't create a panic if Binance can't get everybody's funds off the exchange. In other words, the SEC may be just like sort of kicking the tires on Binance, saying if everybody has to get their money out of there, does Binance actually have the money if everyone leaves? So they're accusing them of not having enough funds, and they're going to put it to the test, right? If there's a bump in the road, I don't think CZ is going to get the benefit of the doubt. Now, something I'm really interested in, AGIX, okay? Again, don't buy green candles in altcoins because you have liquidity issues, tight financial conditions, okay? 26 cents is resistance. 18 cents is support. My theme in altcoins, make them sell it to you at a good price. Make them sell it to you at a good price. Let someone else puke to you, not you puke to them. Okay, we were talking about this last week. I don't think the dollar can go up. I think everybody who wanted to buy the dollar did so last week, but we'll see. And if the dollar does go up, then that's just going to pour fuel on this fire to the downside. And I'm just looking for a simple A, B, C correction, right? This orange line is Ethereum, right? Dollar lower, Ethereum higher. I mean, if inflation is at 1%, wage inflation is 1%, and inflation and Fed funds are at 5%, there is a lot of room for the Fed to print money. There is a lot of room for the Fed to just calm down. That is eventually going to be hugely supportive to crypto. Okay, now Blackstone, back to commercial real estate. Okay, head and shoulders top at the bottom end of the range, pretty unusual. Okay, you had a gap up and then you had a gap down. This is called an island top. Usually you see it in commodities. Very rarely do you see it in equities. So don't doubt that Blackstone tries to bid the stock back up to try to fill the gap. And then I think that's going to be all she wrote. Okay, that's going to be all she wrote in Blackstone. Again, Binance Coin, you've got the hidden pivot analysis somewhere around 260. Okay, if 260 gives out, then theoretically it's 120. So if this is really it for Binance, and this is going to be FTX light, 260 is the level in Binance Coin that you have to keep an eye on, and that is the market update. Okay, let's get over to live TA. A lot of people asking questions already. Get the requests in, hit the comments, hit the like button. If you're watching this afterwards, we'll be keeping an eye on comments, trying to collect all the coins that we can collect. Okay, so I have Ethereum versus Bitcoin. Okay, so interesting that this diamond formation, whoops, share screen. Okay, so this diamond formation that ETH broke out of didn't give you the gratification that you wanted. I don't know if we need a diamond redraw. Maybe we do. Okay. It is kind of cool that ETH is doing better than Bitcoin. That's really interesting because a lot of people, including me, thought Bitcoin dominance was going much higher, and that still may be the case. Okay, that still may be the case. Let's put a moving average on this. Like our friend who is bringing this up, let's try an exponential moving average. Let's put the 200-day moving average in. Okay, so Ethereum versus Bitcoin, taking this out. This blue bars up here, I don't know. I think that there's limits to how much Ethereum can outperform Bitcoin, personally. But, you know, that's going to be a function. That's going to be a function of what people have to get off Binance. So here's the DeMark work on Ethereum versus Bitcoin. You know, tomorrow's going to be a 9 top, and you've got resistance up here. I mean, it does have room, and it is in the process of stopping people out, right? Because Ethereum has been doing quite well lately. Now, that said, on the 4-hour chart, Ethereum versus Bitcoin's got the 13 top. So a lot of wild action here. You know, I'm just not a fan with tight liquidity conditions, right? It's this. It's not that I got something against altcoins, because I don't, right? It's the fact that, you know, you're going to have tight financial conditions, meaning money's going to get sucked out of the system, and that does not favor speculative assets. Okay, we're going to go right back to crypto, but I was on an equities like podcast, Wolf on Twitter. Really like these guys. A lot of guys in equities are like, well, I don't know if I can buy the big tech stocks. You know, you got to be careful because everybody is running away from this liquidity problem, and that's going to hurt small, you know, even if they're undervalued. Right? Even if Solana at 19 or 17 is a joke compared to what you think it could do, sometimes the cheap get cheaper. And it's really ugly when you have the SEC walk away from the negotiating table, attack Binance right as liquidity conditions are getting tight. Again, it's like they're taking orders from somebody else up top, because if I know this, they know this. Okay? This is the final attempt to stop it. Okay, Vulcan. Hey, I continue to say about the metaverse. I did get some decent information, right, on this podcast from this Twitter space with Wolf about tech stocks that, you know, Meta's AI program is interesting. You know, and they keep saying he's made a mistake with the metaverse. And I'm like, well, you know what? I don't think so. Let the market decide, but I don't think so. Now, Vulcan tries to get above 358 and can't do it, right? They stopped everybody out here. They actually made it look great, and then they dropped it. So 296 is support. Let's go to the 4-hour chart to see how much of a beating is left here. Okay, so you probably got 2 or 3. It's like 12 hours. You know, it's left its range. It's left its range. Okay, let's go to 90-minute on Vulcan. Okay, the good news is there was support around 327, right? And this was a 4-wave, and that was a 5-wave. So you can make an argument that they could puke this for 2 or 3 days, and then, you know, you might get a pause from there. Okay, you know, if you remind yourself where this stuff really is, you know, if you look at it, it's like, oh my God, because we've been in a no volatility environment. This doesn't look like the apocalypse to me because you have a 13 bottom. Okay, the only way this is going to be the apocalypse is if the Fed piles on and hikes rates anyway. Like, that seems just insane. Okay. So Village Cooking is asking, with the rise in AI, why are customers not clamoring to use Random or Golem instead of Google's Collab or any other cloud rendering options? I don't know, but recently I brought it up in the stream on Friday. Multicoin Capital thinks that Render is a good play because Render is actually almost like renting out, like Airbnb, some of its capabilities for AI. And, you know, as you can see, nobody has any particular reason to sell Render other than the fact that a 13 top was Friday. So don't buy altcoins on green days. You know, Render has been a stair-step function, but you've gotten chunky dips. Right? Do not buy this stuff on strength. It makes no sense. And I don't necessarily think you have to buy the first dip. Now, in Solana, looking good. That 1921 is holding his support. If you go to a daily chart, you know, 20 is obviously a big deal, right? So Solana will live or die based on what happens at 20. Because, you know, if it's below 20, you know, I don't know. I mean, I did draw some support, but, you know, you could be looking at something as low as 1572. Make them sell you these altcoins at a good price. Now, a good question, not necessarily crypto related, but it kind of is. Actually, it more than kind of is the 30-year bond. So let's do ZB. All right. ZB is a little bit complicated in the sense that, you know, it went down, the prior floor became the ceiling, and now, you know, with tight financial conditions and equities rolling over, bonds came back. I'm guessing that this is going to be kind of a range where people are going to get very chopped up. Right? In other words, you had some very clean up moves and clean down moves in bonds. Be careful about range trading and P&L destruction. This has got to be the worst environment I can think of to overtrade. Right? Okay. So ironically, my boss is asking me what's my take on ZBs as we're talking. Okay. So this is the 89-minute bar. All right. Let's go over here and look at TLT. TLT is the long bond ETF. Okay. So on a weekly chart, you have a 13 bottom. You know, that could mean the pain in bonds is over because all of the payroll data, all of that stuff is fake. It's fake. You cannot have a payroll number beat expectations 12 of 13 months in a row. You can't. So bonds look okay. They look okay. I mean, I would have thought this was worse, but, you know, stocks are rolling over, right? If you look at SPY, right? I mean, there was this whole idea, and again, it may wind up being true that, you know, the bubble could resume after they do a little bit of sell in May, right? This is S&P daily, right? And yes, it's dipping, but it's not falling out of bed. Okay, XRP. I've made no bones about it on TikTok. You know, I'm interested in XRP. These guys are going to beat the government, and I don't have any doubt that this tantrum that they're doing is kind of a way to cover up any potential embarrassment on XRP. They can't go after the coins, so they're going after the exchanges. Okay, let's put a fib retracement on XRP. Okay. Kind of a nice looking 38% retracement to 49 or 50 cents. You know, again, this is a 4-hour chart, you know, so there could be another 20 hours of this in XRP. XRP would be wonderful if it got back above 50. So, you know, I don't think you have to do something right this second. I think people are very eager to buy this dip because after 3 weeks of no volatility, it's like, oh, wow, cool. Okay. I get that. But again, you know, you had to wait for sell in May to go on. Why don't we give this 12 hours, right? Give it 12 to 24 hours. XRP might be the exception because I just think there's going to be a lot of demand for fast currency when the lawsuit is over. You're going to need speed when the banking system goes. Okay. So let's take a look at Cardano. Okay. So this is your 4-hour chart. Okay. This is your DeMark 5. So, you know, another 16 hours of pain. Okay. You know, if Cardano, and then I'll get to the question you really have, which is, you know, where do I buy? Right. So Cardano breaks down from 34 cents, 35 cents. That's now the ceiling. Okay. So the range could be 35 cents to 34.68 or 35.44 to 34.68. The question is, where do you want to own Cardano? Now, if this gets very messy, Cardano can make a new low, and so can altcoins if you look at total 3, right? Now, I have been saying this. There are guys on Debate Crypto where everyone's going when this is over that, you know, total 3 never rallied. It never rallied. Like, you know, total 3, this is total crypto market cap without Bitcoin and Ethereum or total altcoin market cap. Like, total 3 went down and then it never really rallied. You never got an altcoin bounce. Like, people bought stocks instead. So, you know, if this gets ugly with Binance, you have tight financial conditions, you have, you know, lack of liquidity. This is not good for altcoins. I don't think there's any rush to buy the dip whatsoever in altcoins. Bitcoin, I can see getting excited if you get something below 25K. With this, I don't see it. Okay. CHZ. Okay. Big weekly support number at 0.094. Okay. You look at a daily chart. Okay. There's a DeMark 11. That means you could have 12 and 13. So most of this stuff is pointing towards like 1 or 2 more days of pain. Again, you know, you have kind of a, you know, a 7. It could go to a 9, but this 5 and C means that, you know, whatever this is, this dip could be over. This is probably one of the better looking charts I've seen, just because it broke out of a tight range and now it looks like it's doing some sort of selling climax. But again, make them sell it to you at a good price. I'm not exactly a fan of buying the first dip. In other words, it's great when you get a green candle, right? I mean, this looks great, right? I mean, it goes down, you get this amazing candle, but the question becomes, drum roll, are people willing to pay higher prices? Right? Like, that's the key. Like, everyone wants to buy the dip, but do the people after the dip occurs go, oh my God, I missed out, I got to buy it? Okay. Reality realization thinks that, you know, you could have total 3 bottoming out at like, you know, 250 billion. I have the bottom of this channel, you know, say at the end of June at 250. Now, that's going to be a really nasty drop. I really would prefer that didn't happen. But again, trying to keep you from getting killed, because I think eventually Bitcoin first and then Web3 is going to take off next year. Because whatever the general public is doing, like, first they got caught short QQQ, tech stocks. Now they're all going to start piling in at the top if they haven't already. Then after they get done losing money in that, either they're going to have revulsion and want to quit, or they're going to discover crypto. Either one of them is bullish. Either one of them is bullish. Okay, Matic. Coin I just kind of like to pick on, right? I don't know. I got a hidden pivot analysis that says 61 cents, right? I mean, my producer has been sending me things about all these different forms of Ethereum contracts that are going to do the same thing that Matic does, which basically gives, you know, normies the ability to do things that are on crypto without knowing that they're doing crypto. So I understand this thing was revolutionary, but you know, what's the difference between 83 cents and 60 cents? You know, why can't they just smash this thing? They can, right? They absolutely can. All right, folks, wrapping this up. You may not have to buy the first dip. You had to wait to get the correction. Now you may have to wait for it to get the support. Sell Memorial Day and go away. I've been on record. I was talking to the debate guys about this for a month. They asked me if I was willing to sit out the month of June. You know, that was a tough question to answer. It was. It was oh God, so constructive on crypto long term. Now, if you got the deep pockets and you wanted DCA, okay. But, you know, everybody thinks they have deep pockets until everyone's puking this out at the lows. It never looks bad at a top and it never looks good at a bottom. Even if that's where you want to buy it, it will look terrible down there. Assuming today is not the end. Okay, so that's it. We will be back Wednesday.